Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers and sisters. This is the Apex Online Racing F1 2018 Hype Energy Season number 16, Round 21, the grand finale here at Abu Dhabi. My name is King Kodiak and I'll be one of your commentators throughout this evening's race. Joining me in the commentary box, my faithful companion throughout this season, and for the final time this season, it is Mr. Hamish Sopwith.
Yes, good evening everyone. What a race I'm sure we have on our hands here. Abu Dhabi, it's the final race. It's a race where a lot of drivers kind of, take off their gloves and just anything holds bars. There's not another race where they can necessarily be penalised or anything. So we tend to see a little bit more aggressive driving, which can sometimes be quite spectacular for us commentators. But we look forward in anticipation to round number 21.
14 drivers will be taking to the track this time around, and for this amazing 21 corner grand spectacle that has become the Yas Marina circuit. And we are indeed counting down to get into the lobbies, so we will be seeing qualifying in its entirety. We know this sequence by now. It is, of course, the 80-minute qualifying session for our drivers to get where they can get. Qualifying, quite a crucial element of this circuit, so we'll see how well our guys do. And once we get into the session, we will run down the drivers, run through, rather, the drivers that we have got with us. Not run down, that would be quite disastrous.
Yes, absolutely. There is one very interesting talking point, I think, which I certainly will be bringing up throughout this race. That was the battle for third in the Drivers' Championship. We have both those drivers today, and that's Daniele Haddad and Alvaro Carreton. They are just 2 points behind. Haddad currently has third in his Renault, and Carreton currently has fourth in his Williams. But he is just 2 points, 178 compared to 180. If Carreton can outscore Haddad's in pretty much at any position, barring P10, he should, in theory, overtake Haddad due to podiums, I believe. Let me just reconfirm that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. Everyone currently looking at Hypersofts. That's probably because they haven't had a chance to kind of get their setups on and choose their tyres. Someone's coming out, I can see. That's the Williams. It's either Carrington or Tim, one of the Renaults. That's got to be Haddad. He's the only one with us. Well, looks like several people actually getting a Hypersoft run out there. That's interesting. Looking at the PS4 race that precedes this one, only the pole man got a time on the board with the Hypersoft. No one else chose to run the Hypersoft. That's not Hypersoft. That's because I've got... Yeah, indeed, only Carrington has got the Supersofts fitted. We've got Donoso that is out there in the Force India. Yep, his tyres match the paintwork. He's running the Hypers along with Parationator, Non-Runner and Haddad. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Carrington is currently the first driver out on track, wasting no time at all trying to set a benchmark for the rest of the drivers to complete. And as you said, everyone's on the old Hypersofts, apart from Carrington, who's on the Supersoft compound tyres. That is the hardest tyre we have, the drivers have available to them this race. You have Ultrasofts, Hypersofts, Ultrasofts, and Supersofts. Thank God we don't need to do that next season. It'll be a soft, medium, and hard tyre. You don't have like a million different compounds, which is quite confusing because you get to a new track and the tyre compounds change. Well, at least the visual colours of the tyre compound change. Just coming through the final sections of the track is Carroton, coming up to 20 and 21. Quite a difficult set of corners, to be honest. It's actually quite a difficult track to get right, Kodiak. It's actually, a lot of it is full throttle. It's almost 60% full throttle, this track. And it's about making sure the car can turn in early to the corner to extend the exit of the corner, because overall the track is actually quite narrow. You haven't got a lot of space to maneuver, whereas there's certain tracks like for example Brazil last week, you know, the exit of the corners, a lot of them can be very wide and you have a lot of room to make mistakes. Although there's tarmac on the outside, in terms of track limits, it is quite narrow, so you do need to look out for that. And it looks like the two Williams guys might be trying some form of slipstream. Does Tim get out of the way? Of course he does. That's probably given Carroton an extra 1/10 of a second on those super soft tyres. It'll be interesting to see what lap time he got. I think you mentioned earlier, Kodiak, the PS4 guys on their Hypersofts got a 1 minute 32.957. So we have to assume that our drivers are going to be around about that sort of paces. That is a very quick lap time indeed.
Absolutely. Now, Alvaro and Tim were using that kind of slipstream technique to absolute perfection in last night's Chinese race for the esports team tournament. That went pretty well for the Williams pair, although they weren't the outright winners this time around. Or Carroton was, I beg your pardon. They nearly got a 1-2, but were beaten to it by the Mercedes lot. What does Carroton get on the board? A 33.7, which is not anything too shabby on those super soft tyres. I've just realised I didn't run the commentated hot lap footage, which I was supposed to do. Of course, Donoso goes a 32.7 on those hyper soft tyres. Nicely done in the Force India. So what I'm going to do is switch over to the video footage I should have used before we came into the actual session itself. So this is a hot lap done by AOR legend CRG Evo, as commentated by PCF4, a commentator of Cozzy.
Welcome to the final AOR Hype Energy hot lap for the Season 16 F1 Leagues. We are on board with CRG Evo, the Xbox One Split 1 champion, as he takes us through a lap around the Yas Marina circuit here in Abu Dhabi. Fourth gear for turn 1 for a flat out turn 2, and turn 3 approaches a very demanding right-hander, which you can easily misjudge for the Ferrari driver. No fault through there. Through turn 5 and turn 6 now, cutting the curves to absolute perfection before a sharp hairpin of turn 7. Down the first gear, just get the nose turned in. Now back on the power once again, down the first of 2 long DRS straights, where overtaking is certainly possible for all the drivers tonight, with the use of DRS obviously and slipstream. 100 meter board is your marker for the sharp turn 8, and then the chicane of 9 follows, and then back on the gas once again for the second straight, down towards the chicane of 11, 12 and 13. The 100 meter board is the marker once again, as Ferrari brakes nicely and planted through there. 11, 12 and 13 running over the curves very nicely indeed. Turn 14, don't want too wide an exit because an invalid lap time could await. Now through turn 15, flat out once again. In turn 16, a heavy braking zone for turn 17. Get the car nicely turned in. Now go underneath the hotel section for turn 18 and 19. Go very close to the wall and in towards the final 2 corners as he closes out the lap. And with it, his qualifying session around the final corner. And that is a lap around the Yas Marina circuit here in Abu Dhabi.
And out of interest, that was a 33.2 that Evo managed to get on the board for that hot lap. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that. To see where we stand now whilst that went on, Donoso still has the top spot with that 32.744, which is a pretty decent lap on the hypers. Parisianator is in second, 33.0. 33.094. The non-runner is 33 in third. Goodness me, struggling with words again. It's not good for a commentator. Non-runner then 33.299. Now he's put 2 laps on the hypers. Oh, that's risky. Very, very risky indeed. Carroton 33.7. And Jan Fader, currently in 5th with a 34.9. I think it's fair to say that is not a very representative lap. Just been confirmed. I'm pretty sure this was going to be an educated guess. It was going to be a dry race, but I've been confirmed the rain is not going to bother the desert. It's a great shame. I was looking forward to a wet race. No, let's be honest, no.
Absolutely. Interestingly, Timp was on a hot lap and he decided to come in. So that's interesting. Manuel Bancolina is currently on a hot lap. I assume he's not coming to the pits. He is on a hyper soft tires, although hitting the outside wall of exit of 19 quite hard. And he is coming to a pits as well. It's quite interesting. A lot of drivers tend to do these sighted laps. I was never a fan of doing that. I didn't really like the idea of sort of wasting, because overall you're basically wasting 4 minutes of a session going out, coming back in. You know, so you waste about 4 minutes. So I was never really a fan of it. I'd like to just go out and use my time appropriately and at least get something on the board, because you never know what's going to happen. Worst case scenario, you just want to know that you have a lap time on the board, because it just puts you in a better place for the race. I always thought mentally, and that's what I did, but a lot of these drivers obviously think very differently. Although Caraton is still sitting quite well. He's actually ahead of Jan Vela, who did qualify on the ultra soft tyres, so good for him.
Indeed. Yeah, Caraton, with that super soft tyre time, that 33.7. Be interesting to see if he comes out again. The overlay showing he has got Hypersofts on, so it wouldn't be surprising if he comes out. Oh, that's Gerrix giving Formula Danny a big old lot of slipstream. My goodness, that's close.
Wow. That was very close indeed. There, almost lucky they didn't make contact there. That is obviously the risky part of slipstreaming, is one, being too fast but you accidentally outbrake yourself. Because remember, in qualifying with slipstream is the absolute fastest your car will ever go over the course of that race weekend. In terms of, it's got the lowest amount of fuel, and usually if you're slipstreaming, it's been planned and you have the slipstream for the entire straight. So that's the absolute fastest it can go. What means it's very easy to outbrake yourself. Because if you brake 1 meter too late, that could be a lock-up and you sailing on, in this case, sailing on through turn 8, 9, and maybe even towards turn 10 if you mess that particular part of track up.
Oh, Danny, the tail of that Mercedes got very close to the wall. And that's another thing, unless you put a lot of practice into that manoeuvre, it's very easy to slam into the back of your teammate. And there's a blooming hell! 32.368! Wow, that is
almost half a second.
Wow, yeah,
4 tenths. Anyway.
Yeah, just under 4 tenths from Donoso. That rather shows you how effective doing that slipstream manoeuvre is if you get it right.
And I think Caraton got that right as well, just on a different tyre. But he is now on the ultra soft tyres, and it will be interesting actually to see where Timp is on track. Who is actually
right with him.
Can see the Williams, so presumably Timp is now going to overtake Caraton, because I imagine the Williams camp will obviously know Timp knows Caraton's situation. We're third in the championship, and presumably Timp is going to try his best to help his teammate get that position. Unfortunately for Timp, he's actually right behind Donoso, but he's also behind Caraton as well. So Caraton, in terms of championship position, is in a much stronger hand. He's like the #1 driver at this point.
Indeed. As we're watching Timp come round, again the tail getting very loose. Did he bin that? No, he's still going. I thought he actually backed out of that for a second. No, he's still pressing on like a madman. Coming into the hotel section, 17, 18, 19. Keep it steady. Does he lose the tail at this point? Yes, he does. And now that view is a little exaggerated, but it still makes me wince every time they do it. Round the last turn, what does Tim manage to get on the board? It is a 32.440. So that is 71 thousandths off the back of Formula Danny. That's the sort of gap we're used to see. But it's taking slipstream to be able to achieve those kind of times. And as we mentioned before, that kind of slipstream manoeuvre can go horribly wrong. But we've seen quite a lot of that again, referencing the esports tournament races. We've seen quite a bit of it going on. The Williams pair really putting it to very, very good use, and doing so again here. And just seeing Garrix and Formula Danny do the same thing to get the get last season's get our previous champion Formula Danny onto the pole spot. We'll see if he's able to hold on to that. Less than 6 minutes to go. Let's have a look further downfield. Amos Lorito in 8th position on the ultra soft tyre, so that's not a bad effort. 34.075 for the Haas runner. Photon is on the super softs, although he's come back in. So we're still waiting for a time from Manuel Bianchi in the second Ferrari. Photon 34.541 on the super softs in 10th position. Railgun yet to come out of the pits as well. Just a wow, Bianchi really pushing that one hard, as that's towards the beginning of the lap. He's coming up to turn 7. Wow, that was it seemed like a lot of wheel spin there. He's got no one to give him a tow down that long back straight, so we'll see what he's able to do on those ultra soft tyres. Where are we expecting him to be? Well, very good question. I'm assuming kind of around where Amos and Daniele Haddad are. So that 34.0, 34.2 kind of effort. And interestingly, Formula Danny, despite that impressive pole time, is out again.
Yeah, I mean, it is not. The thing is with Formula Danny, I think that's his first flying lap, which suggests to me that he can probably go a bit quicker. I think we've just seen Tim come into his William garage. I imagine Carroton's going to come out fairly soon. So yeah, Danny is out on another lap. To be honest, 71 thousandths of a second is not a big gap, and we know how quick Carroton is, so he's probably thinking that actually Carroton in the other Williams can probably beat it. So if Timp is close, Carroton can probably beat it. I'm not trying to say that Carroton's a better driver than Timp, but over the course of this season, he currently has been. So that's quite an interesting thing which will play on Formula Danny's mind. He's going to have to push that a little bit harder, which also means potentially we could see the season 14 champion maybe making a mistake if he's not careful.
33.849 for Bianchi on the ultra soft tyres, slots him into 8th position, second in the ultra soft runners. Jan Fehler pushed all the way down there to 12th now. He's still got his time on the hyper softs. I think that was the one he did it on. Yes, he set his time on the hyper soft tyres. But now we're going to get into the mad rush, aren't we? 3.5 minutes remaining. Donoso's come back out. Carroton has come back out. Carroton is still on the ultras, interestingly, so he's not wanting to go to. He did his best time. Oh yes, he did his best time on the super softs, remember? So he's looking to do an ultra soft run. He's not wanting to go anywhere near those hyper soft tyres, interestingly. And I see a few people in chat asking about strategy. We will go over that in the formation laps, so fear not. We will get you the information we've been given for those starting. Oh, go on.
Sorry, Cody. This is very interesting. Formula Danny is a 10th up. He's got slipstream from his teammate down the back straight from turn 7 to 8, braking perfectly at 150 meters, getting the car turned in to 8 and 9, getting on the power as early as possible. The Renault of Haddad jumps out of the way. The DRS is wide open for a run down to turn 11, using all this track. Look how much he's able to brake on the curves. He's hitting every single apex, picking up the power as early as he can, coming into a very technical third sector at the moment. He's doing very well indeed. You have this right handle which is very easy to lock up because you're turning right and braking, similar to the likes of turn 9 at Bahrain. You want to get nice and close to the wall on the exit of 19. Does Formula Danny do that? Of course he does. He gets the car turned in right for 20, up towards 21. He doesn't want to mess it up now. He's going very quick. It's very clean. Coming across the line, it's a 31.8. He smashed it. He's almost 6 tenths above of Williams, Tim.
Oh my goodness me. 31.849. Wow, alien. Talk about yeah, aliens confirmed. My goodness me, that's a hell of a benchmark that's been thrown down by Formula Danny. There is our Sole Force Indy going through Fabrizio Donoso. Every single car is out there on track. I imagine Tim, he's either letting Jan go, who's a Sole McLaren, or he's waiting for his teammate to give him a big old tow. down the road, but we will see. But my goodness, that's an absolutely mind-blowing. Oh, the Williams pair are indeed together, so now that's going to be interesting if we're seeing this.
Who's compromising their lap? Because someone's going to have to. Although Tim has set a pretty good lap, I must admit.
Yeah, he's going to be helping. He's going to be helping Alvaro, I would have thought. Oh, actually, Alvaro's the lead of the two Williams. So,
but he did also come out of the pits considerably before his teammate. Maybe they're not doing any slipstream at all and they're just having to do their own thing.
Yeah, true.
That's how Formula Danny got that extra pole, extra bit of time, because he was able to follow Garrett. And I don't think the Williams are actually doing any form of slipstreaming unless something rather bizarre happens now, which would be quite strange now. This is interesting. Carton has Jan Phelan. From Jan Phelan's pace, he's about 3 seconds off of the pole time. So, judging by that, Carton's going to get dirty air and potentially not a very good lap if he's behind that Renault-powered McLaren. Obviously, we are on equal car performance, but we can still imagine it's not. And Carton's backed out massively.
Backed out of it. Yeah.
So, very disappointing. His only comforting point will be that Haddad isn't that much further behind. Now, Tim is getting a slipstream from Carton. Is he able to do anything about Formula Danny? I absolutely doubt it. Donoso's gone quick, but not quick enough. He's, just under 5 tenths behind. Tim, again, looking very confident within Matt Williams. He's obviously got a good setup, nice and close to the walls on the inside, braking on the curbs. If you're able to do that without unsettling the car, it's a very good skill to have, especially around a track like this. A very small lockup, but he's able to compensate that of the tail kicking out a little bit. Another right hand braking zone now for Tim, getting the car to hit the apex and go out wide to the corner. That is very nicely done indeed. Does it get any closer to the wall than Formula Danny? It's pretty much the same, coming up towards turn 20. I imagine he's not quite as quick. It doesn't look as quick, but it does look competitive, and I think he will improve. But it's not improved enough. He's moved himself up above Donoso, but still 4.5 tenths off Formula Danny with that phenomenal 31.8 lap time.
Wow. If you want to display on how it's done, then Formula Danny and Garrix have just displayed exactly how to do that manoeuvre. Now, interestingly, Garrix will be starting in 7th on the Ultras. So, interesting. That'll be why, of course, Garrix was playing the lead car in that kind of slipstream catapult manoeuvre that we've just seen. Who's still out there? Haddad is still out there. What does he get on the board? Nope, he's pulling that one back in. He'll start no higher than 9th on the Ultrasoft. Carrington still will. Carrington's actually in 10th. He will be starting on those super soft tyres. I wonder whether that was what he intended, but half of the top, well, indeed, just over half, so 6 cars out of the top 10 will be starting on the Hypersoft tyres. That, I don't really think that many people kind of anticipated that before the qualifying started, but then seeing the times, they might have felt they had to go that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That is actually a point which I didn't notice, Kodiak. This will be very interesting. So we've got a split strategy from the Williams, because obviously if you're within the top 10, you have to start on the tyre you qualify on. So, like you say, we've got like half of top 10 starting on the Hypersofts, and half of them starting on the Ultrasofts, as we very shortly will go through the qualifying rundown, which will, of course, show Formula Danny with a massive gap of over 4 tenths of a second to Williams' Timp. Donoso in P4. Good qualifying from him. He will want to not get himself any penalties and just try and maintain that position. That will be his target, to not get any penalties. Freya Schneider in P4. Good job from him. Wycombe's in P5. That's a first time in ages we've seen him up there. Non-runner again. P6. We haven't seen him that high up the board in quite a while. In P7 we had Garrix. He's not going to be helping Danny too much from down there. Photon in P8, Haddad in P9, Carrington in P10. That's going to be a fantastic battle with Williams and Renault. Obviously, I was babbling on too much. I didn't have enough time to go after the top 10. But that is your top 10 race, and I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting race indeed.
This is going to be all about strategy, I suspect. It's going to be about how well the top guys can hold on to those hypersoft tyres. It is going to come down to just not killing them so quickly. It didn't work well for the Red Bull pair in last night's esports race, so we'll say, okay, that was in China as opposed to here, I grant you, but this is not a track kind on the tyre wear, so that's going to be a bit of a issue, I think, for our hypersoft runners. Several of you asking where David Tanita is. He was not able to attend this evening's race, so therefore he is not with us on track. That is why you do not see our newly crowned champion. So away we go then with the formation lap. What did our back guys go with? They went with, so interesting. I thought they'd all go super softs. I always assumed that the back ones are going to go with the hardest available compound. But no, Amos went for the ultra soft tire. So he wants to be jumping a little. Go on.
So good. Interestingly, Caraton is on the super softs as well, although I'm sure he qualified on the ultra softs.
He had ultra soft fitted at the end of quali, but he didn't beat his super soft time that he set first time out. So no, that's why that is the case. Now, strategies. Let's bring up that graphic then. This is the strategy information we were given, which, as you can clearly see, assumed that everyone was going to be starting on ultras. So we're going to see the ultra soft starters coming around about lap 7, or between 7 and 10, and the super soft starters around 16 to 18. So assume that the hyper soft runners are going to be in around about that 4 to 6, I would think. So we're going to see very early pit stops from the top 6. It could be earlier, depending if, obviously, if we have any discarded carbon fibre. So, again, but not many ultra soft runners. So, actually, I'm just looking through the list. There's as many ultras as super soft runners. So, it's going to be kind of down to what's... the main thing we don't know is how well our top 6 are going to manage those hypersoft tires. Are they going to kind of try and run off into the distance, build up as big a cab as they can, but burn the tyres down to absolute canvas? Or are they going to try and stretch out the hypersoft stints? Only they know what they're about to do.
Well, what I would tend to do in that situation is you always want to be on a fast tyre, and if you think you have a pace, so that would be more like the likes of Formula Danny, Tim and Donoso, I would very much stretch for ultra soft tyres as long as you can, and then when the back runners, so to speak, so the likes of Gerrickson, Photon, Haddad and all those lot come, within about 3 or 4 seconds of you, then you pit, and then you're always on the faster tyre before they are. That is what I would do. And that just means you're always ahead. Obviously, then you have the undercut that plays a big role as well, as we are very close to lights out.
Here we go then. We all know the procedure for the final time in the season. It is time to wind them up and let them go. Can our hypersoft runners fend off those behind them? What a storming start from Formula Danny. Tim just managed to hold off Donoso. Priestnader has gone through into third. The Red Bull pair are fighting. That's non-runner and Wycombs side by side as they're coming through the first few turns, and that is Donoso and Priestnader still side by side for the next few turns, heading down towards 5 and 6. The Red Bulls are getting right in there. There's Garrick's looking to get involved as well, with Photon on the outside. Lots of position swapping. Looks like everybody has managed to keep hold of the front wing so far. Photon very wide on the exit of turn 6, but has a great drive actually to storm back past Garrick's. Of course, no one's going to have DRS open at the moment. Formula Danny, he's got Tim for company. Bit of a gap between Tim and Donoso at the moment, but Priestnader looming on in there. The Red Bull pair very, very close. Photon doing a side-by-side on Garrick's coming into turn 8. Goodness me, lots of jostling for position, but so far so good. No one needing a pit stop just yet.
No, absolutely not. Although there was a driver who did lose a bit of front wing. I think it could have been either Lorito or Baylor lost a tiny bit of their front wing. I'm not entirely sure which driver. Bancolina was very aggressive against Cautombo, very much pushing him wide. It was completely fair from the Ferrari driver, so good job. But it was aggressive. He pushed him wide at turn 3. So, Cowton had nowhere to go, which is why he's lost 3 positions. Kodiak Haddad has mained on to P9 right behind the Mercedes of Garrett.
Oh, Railgun, we have a casualty before the first lap is done. Railgun, unfortunately we can't cut to what happened to him. We have lost our first competitor. And so down to 13 then. Carrington all the way down to the back of the field. That is not what he wanted at all. But on they go then. No one looking to come into the pits just yet. Wycombe's a non-runner, very side by side. Oh, why? Wycombe's got very, very squirrely after that kind of side by side he was having with his teammate. Now under a lot of pressure by Photon. But up front, Timp is still keeping Formula Downey for company. There, Donoso just hanging on to that DRS range, although of course as we know they don't have it for another lap yet. Then behind Donoso in very short order is Preschneider, then the two Red Bulls. There's non-runner. Wycombe's is under a lot of pressure from Photon. Garrix is right in there as well. There's the view from the second Mercedes. Then you've got Haddad. Oh, that's Amos and Manuel Biancalila that are fighting side by side, the Haas and the Ferrari. Amos needed to make the move. Remember, he's on the Ultras. He started in amongst the Supersoft starters, so he had to get past them, and he's now done so. That is Amos up to 10th. Big move from Biancalila. Shoves the Haas off the road. Oh my goodness, he's cut across the corner himself to avoid Jan Fader. Then now Jan's actually nailed the pair of them. The McLaren up to now 10th. So that's very quickly undone itself for Larita and Biancalila.
Yeah, absolutely. Biancalila did not want to give up that position, nor did Lorito. I was just about to say, before that happened, had Biancalila made that move and made it stick, there would have been a very definitive strategy where you have the Hypersofts, then the Ultrasofts and the Supersofts all in one sort of bunch. So in theory the field would spread out in that order, but that's no longer happening now. Biancalila is in P12. He needs to use his quicker tyres to his advantage, and I'm not talking about Biancalila, I'm talking about Loretto. Now Biancalila just lost the car. He just bounced across the curb and he's completely lost the car. Is that going to be a safety car? I presume you saw that as well.
I did.
But I was very unlucky. That is exactly what could have happened to Caraton on lap 1.
Wow, that was so dramatic. Oh, as Donoso really gets heavy on the brakes coming into turn 8. There's our top 3. They are a second clear of Preschneider, who is a second and a half clear of non-runner, who's a second and a half clear of Wycombe's. Wycombe's got a lot of company there from Photon, as we can see. But look at Timp. He is absolutely nailed to the back of the Mercedes at the moment, coming through a 9 and 10. Now, I beg your pardon, 11, 12, 13, now through 14. Heading up to the really twisty, a bit of a tank slapper from the Williams, but Donoso's on a stormer at the moment. He's right there, right back in with the top 3. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they all pitted at the same time. So we will see what they do, but then you never know if Donoso maybe feels he's got a bit more pace than the two ahead of him. He may choose to do the overcut. We've seen it very successfully implemented. No one coming into the pits just yet. So my prediction of 4 laps, only has 1 more to run. Ooh, and again a bit of a wobble of the tail there from the Force India, but he's really looking to strike on Tim. Then now coming through turn 1 again. Is the Williams going to be able to fend off the Force India? I'm surprised there's such a gap between himself and Preschneider, but jumping a little bit further back, Photon, who leads the Ultrasoft runners, he's still got Wycombe's for company, but I would think he's aware that the cars immediately ahead of him are on softer rubbers. He doesn't have to worry about it too much, but Haddad is pretty close to Garrix, and Haddad, big move on the inside of turn 7. Can he get it done? Bit of a bang on the Mercedes, but no, that was a huge move, a big statement of intent from the Renault.
Yeah, he's going to get DRS now, so is Garrett. Is Haddad closing in? He is very slowly. Can he be later on the brakes van? The Mercedes driver both braking at about 110 metres, and move complete by Daniele Haddad. Good job.
He's also... and Tim, sorry to cut you off, Hamish. Donoso and Tim side by side, streaming on down to 11, 12 and 13. They did swap position. The Force India did get ahead of the Williams, but Tim has taken that one back, and that's dropped them out of DRS range of the lead Mercedes, as Wycombe's has lost a spot to Photon. It is kicking off everywhere. Amos has gone ahead of Jan Phelan now, so Amos now getting back into his rhythm with that softer rubber than the McLaren. So he's looking to try and build up a bit of a gap there, as we tend to find in this league. It's difficult to know where to look, but Wycombe's is in trouble. He's got the very soft rubber, but he's falling away from his fellow Hypersoft starters. Oh. Go on.
No, sorry, it's just a nice little... no, I see. Caraton must have thought it was a little bit cheeky. He overtook Failer on the inside while cutting the corner a little bit, and he just let Failer back through. So P12 and 11 as it was.
Look at Donoso. He wants to get that position back again. He's fallen about 6 tenths behind Tim at the moment. But
closing in on Danny, you know, Kodiak.
It could be, because I can't imagine there's a lot of life left in those Hypersoft tyres on any of them. So round the very tight turn 7 again into the DRS zone. Tim, of course, won't have any DRS at all. The Force India will. That'll bring him back in contention. Is it going to bring him in contention quick enough? I shouldn't think so, unless it's a huge banzai on the inside. He had a look on the inside of 8, but opted not to make the move. He was too far back for that, realistically speaking. You've got to be careful how you do the move here, because it then can set you up to be counter-attacked along this straight. Here comes the Force India once again. Oh, he's going to go on the inside for 11. It's difficult to make the move there. He has actually got it. Tim backed out of that one. Didn't fancy the side-by-side through this twisty section, 11 through to 14. So Donoso now up into second position.
This would be such a good result if Donoso can keep it clean, and so far I haven't seen him put a foot wrong in terms of track limits. It seemed very clean. I'll have a look at the race director later to see if he's got any warnings, but he's looking good so far.
Wow, Haddad side by side with Wycombe.
Oh, wow.
Wycombe's tyres are failing him, but still the Red Bull fighting with everything he's got left.
What a move!
That was a great move by Haddad, and an even better one from Wycombe's. Unsurprisingly, Wycombe's is in, Timp is in, but Danny and Donoso are not. They've gone on another lap, a bit longer than I expected them to. So I called it right for half the, a portion of the the Hypersoft starters. Timp has gone on to actually both Timp and Non-Runner on the ultra soft tyres. Well, that's a two-stop strategy if ever I saw one. That's an interesting one, but if anyone can make it work, certainly they can. But Danny now leads Donoso by just shy of 2.2, well, just over now, 2.2 seconds. Preschneider is 1.5 off the back of Donoso. Then you've got this big gap, 4.2 seconds as we're actually looking backwards from the Sauber back to, you can't really see Photon in the background there, but Photon doing really well on those ultra soft tyres.
So Haddad on Wycombe's up the inside towards turn 9. Is he going to make this move stick this time? And so far, so good. Wycombe's is going to recollect DRS off the back of Daniele Haddad, and he's not going to have DRS. Can the Red Bull make another move to put himself back into P5? No, he can't. Braking behind the Renault, luckily not driving into it, and Donoso getting a 3-second penalty. Time and time again, he really needs to clean up his act if he wants to win any race.
He does. It's the biggest thing that lets him down is that cursed penalty count. Look at Amos Larito. He's gaining right on this pack of, well, now making it a pack of 4. Haddad, Wycombe's, Garrix, and himself now. So he looks set to start to really put the pressure on the Mercedes to climb up the ladder a little bit further. I thought Wycombe's actually came in last time around, but he's opted not to do so. Danny and Donoso still haven't come in. Neither has Preschneider.
Kodiak.
Oh, yeah. Wrong Red Bull, of course. So Wycombe's couldn't do. But Wycombe still hasn't. He's carried on. A curious decision then from the Red Bull, but I think he's looking to extend the Hypersoft run to maybe make for a one-stop strategy. Risky, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. He might well make it work. I mean, it does save you, well, as long as you don't lose around about 20, what is it, about 23 seconds, I think it is here.
It worked for Brendan Lee last season, Kodiak. He did a one-stop. In fact, most of the field did a one-stop. Apart from a couple of drivers in the midfield. So it did work last season. Whether it works this season, we are yet to find out. And we look at in anticipation while Garrix overtakes Wycombe's up the inside. Look very easy. It doesn't look like Wycombe's is actually battling too much. Caraton with a 3-second time penalty. He is not often on the board. He's actually one of the cleanest drivers in AOR, but he has got a penalty this time.
I would imagine Wycombe's probably isn't going to fight too hard. He knows he's got to stretch out those Hypersofts, so trying to fight and slowing himself down is not going to be on his plan, I would have thought. So he's just going to let people go. He's just going to try and keep it clean and keep all the wings on the car. So the Red Bull is playing the strategy. Whoa, that was a bit of a twitch then from Amos, I think. The tail just wanted to let go, but he well caught in the house. Oh no, on board with Amos just as he caused that one. That was a bit of a shame, but it's very easily done. As Donoso has come in, the Force India has brought his car in. So, actually, Danny and Praishnade are going on for as long as we thought the Ultrasofts were going to go on for. So, interesting. And that's Denoso. Yeah, Wycombs has now brought his car in. Supersofts for the Force India. What does Wycombs going to do as Tim gets the new fastest lap of the race? Wycombs is Supersoft. So, yep, that's what he's aiming to do. He's gone for a one-stop strategy. So we've got people doing split strategies then, because you've got Tim and Non-Runner, they're going for what I assume is going to be a two-stop, and Denoso and Wycombs, and I suspect Danny and Praishnade as well, going for a one-stop. Oh, this is going to be interesting, but oh no, has Wycombs been held? No, it's just taking a while to clear that pit marker. So he could have also had damage on the car, might have explained why he was struggling so much. Maybe he's had a new front wing or no, we weren't looking at the actual pit stop itself, but we will see how well he does now.
Yeah, so this is the kind of how I was explaining just before the during the formation lap. This is sort of how what I was explaining about letting the likes of Photon and Haddad catch up to you, then deciding to pit. This is a strategy I would have opted for, because it always means you're on the fresher tyres. Now, Danny is obviously a very quick driver. Whether it'll work for Praishnade, I'm not entirely sure. He's a little... He's, don't get me wrong, he's a very quick driver, but he's not quite the same speed as the likes of Denoso, Tim and Danny, at least not at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how his version of the same strategy works out as he darts into the pit, while Formula Danny carries on for at least an extra lap.
How on earth is Danny making those tyres work so well?
That's impressive. 8 laps, including at least 2 qualifying laps going up. They're 10 laps over those tyres. You wouldn't even be able to give them away.
I was going to say you could only just make rubber bands out of them. That's amazing. So Praishnade goes on to the super soft tyres. I saw Tim coming past Jan Feder as Wycombs gets his name on the penalty board now. So again, that just shows you that it is challenging to push as hard as he is, but he is a long way behind. He must have had a front wing on the car when he came through the pits. So frustration about again for Wycombs. He just has catastrophic luck when it comes to this season. Oh, look at that. That's Haddad making his car very wide in the mirrors of the Ferrari. Nowhere near an attacking position at the moment, but he's making himself very known. Yes, I am here. Don't relax too much. Yeah, I will be attacking you very, very soon. Where is Danny? He is coming through 11, 12, 13 and 14. So he's still got a half a lap to do on those very, very aged Hypersoft tyres. Here comes Photon and Haddad to commence lap 9. So the Ferrari under all kinds of pressure still. You've got Carrington, who's now on the back of Amos Lorito and Garrix. So Carrington is the lead of our Supersoft starters. There were only a few of them. So I'm trying to remember who the other... Oh, of course, Khalida, Bianca Leader and Railgon. There were 4 of them, and 2 of them are gone.
So, Formula Danny in. Interestingly, looking at the times, Tim is almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than Formula Danny over the last 2 laps. So this will be very interesting. So expect to see Tim out ahead of Formula Danny. Where we're about the moment, just coming across the pit line now. Danny is still in the pits and he's dropping back at quite a rate as Non-Runner gets himself on that penalty board as well. Obviously, you cut a bit of a track coming out of the pit, but Formula Danny's fallen to P9.
He's behind Denoso as well. So, but also bearing in mind, I'm expecting 2 of our Ultrasoft runners. Oh, Jan Fader, that's a long way off track. Wow, there's a wild McLaren suddenly appeared there. There's an unusual line from Jan there, but managed to avoid any incident as Denoso and Formula Danny then stream on down towards 8, 9 and 10. Denoso feeling the need to put himself in a defensive position. Is Danny going to go for it? Yes, he does! Whoa, that was a long way back, but can he make the move stick, though? Wow, that was a really big move, but he's been pushed off the track by Denoso. Firm but fair, still side by side then on that long left-hander heading down towards 11 through to 14. Danny's going to have the inside line. Is it clean? Yes, Denoso's backed out of it. Wow, what a commitment from Formula Danny to make that one work.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome driving by the 2 drivers. I mean, they know each other very well from inside AOR and just as well outside of AOR. Very good job. Daniele Haddad has been right on the back of Photon. Are they both coming in? It's going to be a pit stop battle between Ferrari and Renault. This will be very interesting. Now, presumably, Photon will carry on being in front of Daniele Haddad because of the pit system and being held up within the pit lane. Expect to see that Ferrari go past. No, he doesn't. Renault have managed to get a quicker pit stop by Ferrari. It means he's getting to position in the pit lane.
Wow, look at that. Every single one of the Ultrasoft starters came in at the same time. And Haddad, exactly as Hamish said, has jumped Photon in the pits. So out comes Haddad ahead of Photon, ahead of Garrick, ahead of Amos Lorito. So Amos was a little bit longer in the pit lane than the other three, but all of them have done their, well, I suspect they've done their pit stop for the day. They're not wanting to see the pit lane again. But I would think that Carrington's going to try and drag Tim and maybe act as rear gunner, because Danny is already back up to third. Preschneider and Fehler have swapped positions. Looks like Fehler struggling a bit on those super soft tyres, which is what he started the race on. He's going to want to go another 7 laps at least before he thinks of ditching them. So that's going to be a long day for Jan Fehler. And there goes non-runner. He's absolutely flown past. He's left the McLaren for dead. So could well be damage as well on the McLaren. We, of course, don't know. Looks okay from our side, but many a time, yeah, it looks okay to us, but they are missing a big enough chunk on the car to be a bit of a problem. Oh, Danny on the penalty board. That is very rare. So
it is, and he just went monumentally wide again, so he probably picked up another warning, Kodiak.
Well, that is not common at all for the Mercedes esports driver. He's under pressure from Donoso. Of course, that puts them both essentially in the same bit of track. They're both with a 3-second penalty at the moment. We are not even halfway in the race yet. As, yep, that's the swap I was expecting to happen. Carrington and Tim have swapped position. I doubt at all that Carrington fought him, because Carrington hasn't been through the pits yet. So now I would envisage the gap between Danny and Carrington to just absolutely disintegrate. And Carrington's going to do what he can to hold up Danny and Donoso right behind to give Tim enough time to potentially come into the pits again.
Yeah, Tim is the only of the original top 3 before the pit stops. Remembering the top 3 was Formula Danny, Tim, Donoso in that order. To not have a penalty, and he still doesn't have a penalty. Danny and Donoso both have penalties, so it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. Another thing, though, is that Haddad is 15 seconds behind Carrington. So Carrington wants to get P3 in the championship. He needs to finish ahead of Daniele Haddad. So, in other words, as long as, it doesn't matter in what order, but as long as Carrington finishes P9 or above, he wherever. So as long as Haddad finishes behind Carrington in providing he finishes P9 or above, he will get that 3rd place because he has more podiums than Daniele Haddad. They both have 1 win. Haddad has 4 podiums. Carrington has 5.
Lots then to the championship may be sewn up, but there's a lot of racing still to conclude, a lot of positions still to decide. As we look at Donoso still keeping Formula Danny for company as they do many times over. Now that's Jan Fehler in. He's coming earlier than I would expect the Supersofts to run on, but he's been really struggling for quite some time on those tyres, so he's going to ditch those. He's got to be going on Ultrasoft. He can't possibly consider Hypers at this stage, and there he goes onto the Ultrasoft. He's going to do what he can, but that's a long way to go on a set of Ultrasoft boots. The other one that's got an even worse problem, that is actually non-runner. He's in 6th at the moment, 1.7 behind Preschneider, but he too is on 7-lap old Ultrasoft tyres, so he's got a lot of work to do at the moment. Oh, crikey, look at Wycombs and Garrix in the background of that shot, getting very squiggly on the exit of turn 7. Here comes the Merc. DRS open on him, and through he goes. Wycombs had nothing. Wycombs didn't have, I thought he would have DRS at that point. So he may have had a DRS failure. We have seen that happen before. Or he just wasn't close enough to Photon at the crucial moment. Of course, in that DRS detection zone. Nah, his DRS is clearly working there. So there went that idea. So he was obviously not close enough to Photon when he needed to be. Through into 9th then goes Garrick. So a lot of fighting to do down in that particular point. But onwards at the front, Tim now has 2 seconds on Carrington, but
Donoso is very close to Formula Danny. Kodak, that might be a battle. You want to have a look at it? Donoso almost slams the car into the wall. He does not want to lose a wheel by doing that. He's doing pretty well at the moment. Halfway through the race, he's got the same amount of penalties as Danny. That's just 1 3-second penalty, and he'll want to keep it that way.
Absolutely. It did look like from the onboard that I jumped to that he did bounce off the wall. But look how quickly they're reeling in Carrington. If he's not careful, they'll just blast past him on that straight. That's perfect timing. Oh, Donoso again on the penalty board. So he just, it seems to be a bit of a habit for him, unfortunately, and it's just undoing potential results. Carrington going to that defensive line. Here comes the DRS equipped Mercedes. Is he going to blast past him? The Carrington's going to have no answer to the inside line for Formula Danny. And is he going to get the move finished? Oh, of course he is. Carrington knew he had no answer to that. Formula Danny caught him too early. Carrington was hoping that he'd be able to string that out a bit longer, I'd have thought. But through into second, then gets Formula Danny only 3.5 seconds between himself and Timp. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if that gap starts to shrink as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Although Carrington was keeping Danny honest down that back straight, and Donoso almost goes into the back of a Williams driver. I imagine he'll be coming in fairly soon. Well, in fact, no. Well, he not really. He'll want to go on the ultra soft, so he'll probably want to pit him out. I don't know. 8 to 20. Oh, that is interesting. So that means Tim and Danny both have 3-second penalties now.
Oh, interesting. Carrington just let Donoso go. No, Carrington didn't fancy that fight. He just jumped out of the way. Interesting, but Carrington, he's on very old, comparatively old super soft tyres. We envisage them to go on a bit longer than that. But, yeah, he may well be struggling with them. And speaking of struggling, Wycombe's again on those super soft tyres is now out of the points as Amos Larito now up into 10th position in the Haas. So he's got 2.1 seconds to close down to Garrix, but that's but he's shown some pretty promising pace so far in tonight's race. As hello Jan, glad to see you're still with us. Yeah, he's on a fresh set of ultra soft boots, looking to try and claw back some time there. That's going to be quite tricky for him, I would think. But I think Tim has just got the strategy wrong, but we will see. Wouldn't be the first time I've made that prediction and it to be completely disproven. I just can't help but feel that he's just going to suffer as a result of the tyre strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, something a little bit off topic. I don't know about next season because I haven't got any information about that, but potentially for the 2019 game, when we start racing on that, potentially Jan's fastest lap may very well get him a point if he finishes in the top 10. So that will be quite an interesting little rule change to look out for potentially coming in the future if we're to stick to something similar to what they have in real life Formula 1. Donoso is keeping Formula Danny quite honest, I must admit. He was very close to Formula Danny, but he had a little bit of a scrap with Carrington. He overtook Carrington, and now the gap between him and Danny is about the same. But remember, he's got that penalty and he's a little bit wide there, what probably means he's just got himself another warning, Kodiak.
Oh, and Danny looked like he did the same coming through turns 2, 3 and 4. So again, he can't be too leery because he could well end up on the penalty board again. Carrington in for ultra soft tyres. He's come out in 11th position, and Jan's got the fastest lap again. So he is pressing on pretty well in the McLaren at the tail of the field. But that lead is dropping pretty quickly. Now 2.8 seconds between the Mercedes and the Williams. So Tim is going to have a rear mirror full of Mercedes very, very soon, and with them that's Force India. But it all comes down to how much Tim is going to fight. Maybe he'll let them go. I mean, Carrington did. Carrington knew he was going to be in the pits pretty soon, but Tim may realise that the strategy is not going to be in his favour and may just choose to let the Mercedes go. We will see when he gets there. Speaking of the Mercedes, look at the other one. There's Garrix. He's reading in Photon now, half a second between the Mercedes and the Ferrari, and it does look like Garrix is really poised to make that strike pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting actually with Tim, because if he was to pit now, he'd come out around P10, which is very far from ideal. In fact, Tim is now, and we will find out where he comes out. I'm predicting around P9 to 10. So this is going to be very interesting indeed. I'll keep an eye on that. He is going on to the Ultra Softs once again, Kodiak. So he has about 11 laps to prove his worth. Dropping through the field, currently just coming out of the pit lane now through this pretty cool kind of underground car park style thing. Is that Wycombs who's just overtaken him? It isn't. So Wycombs is behind him. He's at P8.
Nicely done. That's Amos Lorito right in front of him. So straight away, Tim has got some company there in the form of the Haas newcomer to this season. As the season drawing to a close, Amos did join us. So he'll be looking to... his best result has been 10th so far in this season. There's no way Amos could have answered that. The rate of knots that Tim closed down on the Haas, there was no way Amos was going to be able to defend that. I mean, no disrespect at all. He has a lot of fans with us in the chat as always, but the speed difference was just too great. Here comes Garrix. Is he going to attack Photon? No, he doesn't go for that move into turn 1. He's going to pick his moment a little bit later on. But you never know, the Super Softs will kind of die off. We see people getting rid of those in about, what we're seeing, about sort of 15 laps or so. There's another 12 on the board to do. So those Super Softs we see may well be very, very tired towards the end of the race. What's the gap for... Now, Tim is 16 seconds off the lead at the moment. You know, oh me of little faith, he might... You never know, he might be able to claw his way to a decent result when everyone's tyres decide to fall away. Well, when they end up falling away.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, Donoso and Danny have the two old, apart from Frey Schneider, have the two oldest sets of tyres in a competitive position. So this will be very interesting. So the likes of Haddad, Photon and Garrix, in theory, will close into the top 3, and Tim should have by that point already passed those guys. So it'll be very interesting. The whole field was kind of just bunched up together right at the end.
Also bear in mind that there's penalties to put on the board. Danny and Donoso both with penalties. Tim does not.
He does actually, Kodiak. Tim has one penalty. Oh, he did. Donoso has 2. Danny
yes, he did.
1. Although, I was going to say, Garrix is looking very racy, closing in on Photon extremely quickly. And already, Tim is right on the gearbox, or near enough on the gearbox of that Mercedes-powered car.
Yes, he does, and Garrix is shaping up for another move on Photon. There he goes. He's gone for the inside of 11. Can he get the move done? Yes, he does. Is Photon going to try and move on the outside? No. That is move done. That's 5th position for Garrix, but here comes Tim like a great white shark in the white car, and Wycombs gets on the penalty board.
Another penalty for Wycombs, interestingly.
That is not coming at all. Tim, what a move! Into turn 17. Oh my goodness me. That was out of nowhere. I think that caught Photon by surprise. It certainly caught me by surprise. Wow. That I think is he's got to push on to Carrington getting on the penalty board again. He is going for it. He wants that top spot again. He's going to assumedly get Garrix very quickly, but he can't. He's not wanting to be held up by anybody. Well, there's a lot of pace in the Williams as Carrington gets on the fastest lap board as well. Here we go then, working their way through 3 and 4 into 5 and 6 very quickly. And this is where, you know, Tim biding his time a little bit. 10 laps remaining here of this season. And Garrix looks like he parked it on the apex quite nicely. And we've lost Wycombs. Wycombs is out. We'll not going to be able to see what's happened to him, as there goes Tim. He's going to fly past the Mercedes, and that is job done for him. That is 5th position.
I'm not sure. Wycombs had a crash going out by the looks of it. Failer just past him, beached it in the middle of the track around about turn, basically just before turn 5. So major issues there. Interestingly, this is quite an interesting point to consider. Isn't it Tim and Danny who had their little dispute a few rounds ago? I wonder who's going to be... I bet Timple's going to be wanting a little bit of payback for that particular dispute. I can't remember which round it was, but Danny wasn't very happy, and Timple absolutely wanted to be on the top step.
Well, it's several times that Tim and Danny have had a few crosswords.
That particular occasion.
Well, yes. Donoso's in. So that is what I was thinking. The Super Softs are not going to last, or not going to last, you know, enough to be competitive. Hypersofts on Denoso, he's done that too early. I'm not convinced they're going to last, but then the cars are a bit lighter. We don't know. We saw the Hypersofts lasting barely 4 or 5 laps at the beginning of the race.
I think he'll make it, man. I think he'll just about make it, man, going out without qualifying. Potentially, he'll probably get there. They won't be the best, but I don't think they'll be undrivable.
And much lighter car, as I mentioned. So, yeah, he may well have caught that ride. I would have thought it was a little early, but as you say, you would no other laps put on those Hypersofts, unless, of course, they were used. We have no idea. We've no way of validating that. But that,
does that mean Danny's coming in, then?
Well, could be, and possibly Schneider. So
well, he's the oldest of all of them.
Yeah. So that's brought Tim right back into proceedings. Because Tim, you know, bearing in mind that has Haddad got a penalty? I don't think he does, actually.
No, he doesn't.
So that's a big boon for Haddad as well. So 12 seconds, just under now, separates Tim and Formula Danny. If Danny's going to come in again, that's going to drop Danny right the way down the order. So, oh, Amos, that's a shame. Another penalty for you. But Photon's still on the back of Garrix as well, so there's still the battle going on for what is currently 5th position. But I reckon there's a lot more shuffling to do.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Kodak. Let me quickly go through the penalties as it stands in terms of race order. So Formula Danny, a 3-second penalty. That's a single penalty. Frey Schneider currently does not have a penalty. He's doing very well indeed. Haddad doesn't have a penalty. Tim does have a penalty, a single one. Garrix has a penalty. Photon does not have a penalty. Caraton has 2 penalties, unfortunately, and Matt of Denoso has 2 penalties, and so does Rito. Non-runner, I don't believe he has one, according to my note. No, non-runner has a penalty, and Failer does not.
Okie dokie, but Jan finds himself 21 seconds behind, but if one more person retires, then he will get a point. So he'll be the only one not to score anything if the race finished as they are now. But Danny was not interested in coming into the pits last time around, so we'll see if he does in the next few. Fabrizio Donoso flew past Amos Lorito and has very much left him for dead on those ultra soft tyres. Oh, Caraton's pushing Photon along the road. They're heading towards 11 through to 14. Whoa, wow, that was very late on the brakes for Caraton, or very early for Photon, as it looks like it was more likely to be. The Williams then up to 6th. He's already targeting Garrix. But what about the other one? He's now, Timp is 1.6 seconds behind Daniele Haddad. He's chasing on hard as well. So the Williams pair still with something to prove. But there's, when the penalties are applied, that's really going to shuffle the field along even before we get to pit stops. But Danny could choose to just string out those super stops as long as they will go.
I think he will now.
He could well do, because there's 7 laps to do. It's kind of on the limit of what the super softs are likely to achieve. But, you know, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he was going to come in, he'd have to do something similar to Denoso, and we can see by his pace he's quick. He's about the same, well, near enough the same lap on Brendan Lee set in season 14 to get his pole time round here. So that shows you how quick
Caraton, rather. What a move from Caraton on the outside of Garrix, coming into turn 5. What a stonker that was from the ultra soft shot.
Denoso's right behind as well. This will be interesting. Denoso with DRS in the Force India, with currently the freshest tyres of the entire grid and the fastest tyres. In fact, the tyre colour very much matching his pink car of the inside of Garrix, who's sort of being blocked by Caraton as well. He's going to try somewhat of a switchback. And oh, it almost worked, but he had to back off because Garrix was just a little bit too slow. DRS again for Denoso in the pink Panther. He's going to go to the outside of the inside, probably the outside, maybe trying to switch back. Hopefully the Mercedes doesn't pay for it. No, he doesn't, and that is a move done. Very well done by Denoso. He certainly hasn't lost any racecraft, even if his penalties can be a little bit shaky at times.
What a move. He had full belief that that car was going to stick and that Garrix wouldn't slide into the side of the Force India. That was beautifully executed by Denoso. He's now straight on Caraton's case for 5th position. Daniele Haddad has lost that spot to Timp as well. So Timp up to third. He's got now, as Donoso unsurprisingly gets another fastest lap on the board, Timp is now 7.3 off the lead. So those tyres on the Mercedes really starting to struggle. Well, they probably have been struggling for a while. And Timp is, but again, those Ultrasofts are going to go off at some point. So it's going to be down to dead tyre management. And if anybody blows their tyres up towards the end of the race, it would seem to be Donoso now shaping up the Williams on that long straight towards turn 8. Surely Carrington's got no answer to this. He's gone to the middle, but Donoso's going to have that done long before he gets to the braking zone. There he goes, slots in and resumes the racing line pretty comfortably before he gets through turn number 8. Nicely done by Donoso. He is charging on. He finds himself, how far is he off the top spot? He's got 11 and a half seconds to close down, but he has got a few more penalties to carry, so he'd have to pass the field and run off. And I don't think he's got enough, he hasn't got enough laps. He certainly won't have the tyres to do it.
Yeah, interestingly, Tim isn't closing in on Formula Danny as fast as he was, and he has to overtake and be ahead of Schneider by more than at least 3 seconds, otherwise he'll lose that position to him. So he's going to have to, you know, be quite quick, and he's not exactly going slowly, but he needs to be going a little bit faster if he wants to catch up Formula Danny. He's only got 4 laps to do it.
Indeed, and another fastest lap from Donoso. Wow. He's the only one. Well, Jan Failer's on the Hypers now.
Fast.
But that's an amazing lap from the Pink Panther.
Shaved a second off his last fastest lap. Yeah.
Wow, that's he certainly means business in the Pink Panther. But here is Tim sizing up Schneider through 5, 6, and 7. This is where he wants to get it done with DRS on that back straight. He wants to chase off after Formula Danny. We've got 5 laps to go. There's DRS on the Williams, and it's already slicing past the Sauber of Schneider. He resumes the racing line well before he gets to the braking zone. Second position for Timp. 6 seconds to close down, and potentially no traffic to deal with now. So now it's going to be how much can Tim reel in Formula Danny? How well can Danny keep those super softs where he needs them to be? He's got a yellow fuel light on as well, so he's got to be careful on fuel usage. He doesn't need to defend from anything or anyone at the moment. Tim, no such luck, but I know that fuel light's been a little bit deceiving at times, but we've had it before where, you know, Danny has had, you know, a decent gap and it is, you know, just absolutely vanished. Oh, non-runner now on the penalty board. So another 3 seconds for him. Oh, and Timp is pressing on really. Oh, Schneider. What a shame for you. But wow, Timp is absolutely flying. He's taken nearly a second out of Formula Danny in the remainder of the lap.
At the moment, Kodiak.
Wow.
According to the race director, an easy second a lap quicker. He's going absolutely full throttle. Is him.
Oh, here comes Danny again, Donoso rather again on Daniele Haddad. As they work their way through the first few turns, he's going to try and dive on the inside of turn 5. No, he doesn't force that particular move. He's going to weave through to turn 7. He's going to try and do it in the traditional sense. And then cut back to the apex, then stays in the slipstream of the Renault ERS up to full. DRS is open. It is like a bomb going off in the back of that Force India. Through into 4th place for Donoso. He's already got Schneider in view. Carrington there at the back of the shot. So, and Photon is still keeping Ericsson company. There's the Ferrari on the back of the Mercedes. There is Amos Lorito, non-runner, in that shot as well. So a lot of fighting still to do. And Jan Veen is in the pits again in the McLaren. Oh my goodness. I think he just... Not sure what's going on for the McLaren driver.
Oh, Donoso and Schneider. He's been on the inside for quite a few corners and he's made the move. Nick, what a move from a Force India driver. Awesome job, Donoso.
Very nicely done indeed as they work their way through the hotel section. Schneider, Haddad and Carrington all in very short order as well. That is 3rd to 6th. In this one shot. You would imagine that Donoso's just going to run off now, but I'm wondering how much life he's got in those tyres left. We've got 3 laps to go. Timp is 3.7 off the back of Danny Haddad. Oh my goodness, Daniele Haddad had a huge moment coming off that last turn. Carrington was there to capitalise.
This is a big move, Soko. That's a big move for third place in the championship.
Oh, it is, isn't it? So Carrington capitalising on the mistake of Haddad, but there's going to be penalties to play in, remember. So, oh, and that's Carrington. Have a look on the inside of Prashnader. No, doesn't make the move on the inside of 5. Works her way through up into 7. It's going to be this move again, isn't it? Prashnader probably not going to have really... I mean, Prashnader's tyres must be absolutely screaming by now. 17 laps on those super softs. Here comes DRS for the Williams, and through on the inside goes Carrington. That's going to give him 4th, but there's not much in the way of time difference between himself and Haddad. So that's, I think Carrington's got more penalties than Haddad, if I remember. I mean,
he does. He's got 6 seconds compared to 0, so he still needs to open the gap by 6 seconds, basically.
And less than 3 laps to do it. It's probably a bit of a tall ask. Although Haddad having a look at the inside of Prashnader. Prashnader's locked up a bit, coming into 11. But he's kept that one good and true. Haddad on the inside of 14. Forces Prashnader to go wide. And that is up into 5th position for the Renault. That was a lovely move from Daniele Haddad. But keeping an eye up front, there is the race leader.
Donoso's going so quick, Kodiak. He's closing in on Tim at the same rate as Tim is closing in on Danny. So in effect, Donoso's going double speed, and then Tim is just going also double speed, but sort of Formula Danny. So this is going to be very interesting. 2 laps, 2 seconds, and he's closing in by about a second and a bit per lap.
It's going to be so close between
all within the same little straight as well.
Yes, it is indeed, isn't it? Danny is going to be staring at that timing board with kind of eyes on stalks as Tim has been closing him in with enough. Oh, non-runner's gone. Oh, a shame for the Red Bull driver. So that is actually going to give Jan Fehler a point. With all its trials and tribulations, the McLaren driver is at least going to come away with a consolation point. He's over a minute down the road from what was non-runner, of course, now Amos. So that's at least something that he'll take away from this. But look at that. Danny, Tim, another 2.6 seconds. Are we going to catch him? There he is, it's Donoso. 3 different drivers, 3 different teams, 3 different tyre compounds. It is going to be very, very interesting in the final lap of this season.
Absolutely. Tim is closing in. He's trying his absolute best. There's an awful lot of rivalry there. Donoso, right, the penalty update quickly for the top 3. Danny with 1 penalty, Tim with 1 penalty, Donoso with 2. So if Donoso does overtake Tim or Danny, he has to open up a gap of an extra 3 seconds for him to remain in that position, unless he's somehow able to get a penalty taken off, which is unlikely when it's track limit related. It's the last lap and it's 1 second. Tim's been closing in on Danny by 1.1 seconds. That's Donoso out of the running for the win completely, unless something bizarre happens. That's unfortunately 9 seconds of penalties for him. This is where Tim can potentially make a move on Danny. He's probably going to get DRS down this straight and the next straight. This is for the win of the final race of the season and bragging rights.
Absolutely. We know that these 2 on track have quite a fierce rivalry. Tim is going to close in on Danny, but not enough to attack coming into turn 8. Danny knows what he has to do. There's trouble in sector 2. Now it's now or never for Tim unless he pulls off an incredible move through the twisty section, which is certainly possible. DRS open on the Williams. Danny nailed to the inside. He's defending with everything he's got as Jan Fehler right up the road. And side by side, impact between the 2. Oh my goodness, I suspect there's going to be words said about that, as Danny was forced to cut the grass with the Mercedes now coming up through 15, 16. He's going to dive in the inside again.
Oh, no! That's huge!
Timp is out. He was squeezed against the wall by Danny trying to defend the position. The Mercedes...
I'm sorry, Danny. That was appalling driving from Formula Danny. Appalling, disgraceful driving by the Mercedes driver.
That is
what does this mean for Donoso? In fact, does this mean Carrington's going to win the Grand Prix?
Indeed. Crossing
or Haddad.
Crossing over the line is Donoso. Carrington is crossed over the line second. Danny's actually elevated back up into a win. No, it's Haddad. Haddad has actually been elevated up into a win. Oh, wow. What an unbelievable finish. What on earth was that? That was unreal.
Incredible.
Absolutely unreal finish. So Haddad has claimed the win. Danny too. Denoso with his penalties is finished on the podium. What, I mean, that was a masterstroke. If he had closed in another 10th on Danny, he'd be second. Carrington 4th, Photon 5, Preystader 6, Garrick 7, Amos in 8th. Jan is actually still going. Oh, he's crossed over the line now. Oh my goodness! Woo! Oh, there's going to be a lot of things said about that incident.
Interested. Well, I'm quite excited about this driver interview. In my opinion, it was pretty clear cut that Danny basically squeezed Timp into the wall. Whether Timp's move beforehand was a little bit questionable, I'm not sure, but I don't think it deserved the squeeze Danny gave him. So this will be quite interesting to see what Formula Danny. I think he has some explaining to do.
Yes. This is going to be a very interesting. Get
your beeper button ready, Cody.
I was thinking that as well.
We're in for some interesting language. 2
drivers without a penalty. Haddad being one of them, Photon being the other. I mean, that's very worth noting as well.
Absolutely, good job from both those drivers. Denoso again. He's so fast. He could have won so many races had you not had penalties. And, you know, he's a champion. He just needs to keep his, car within the lines a bit more. His racecraft is phenomenal. I don't think we've seen a single, a collision involving Denoso all season. But unfortunately, penalties has been his downfall.
We've got quite a few people wanting to talk to us. Let's switch over to the commentary box and let's have a chat to them. Okay, so we have made our way over. And lots of people wanted to talk to us. Interestingly, Danny is not one of them. So let's grab them over. Let's break up their conversation. Oh, my Discord is frozen. Oh, there they are. Thank you, Hamish. You're dragging them over. Right then, gentlemen. You dragged one too many over there, Hamish. But never mind. We will have a chat with those that belong to our league. Wow, who to talk with and who and what to say. Let's have a chat, first of all, with a driver who wasn't so lucky towards the end of that race. And I think it's fair to say who's had some pretty disastrous luck throughout the season. It is Mr. Holstein. It's Wycombs. Again. Bad luck finds you again, Mr. Wycombs.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a matter of time, so it's, it would have been nice to at least finish a final race, I guess. But yeah, my PC had other ideas, so that's that, I guess.
Wow, we've actually got pretty much almost our entire grid wanting to have a chat to us, so we're going to have to make this very short for everybody to try and get through. And because it is the final race of the season, we will try and have a quick word with you all, but there's actually about 8 of you, I think, in here wanting to have a chat to us. So let's please make this short and civil. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame that it seems to be you that gets a lot of the bad luck in that respect, Mr. Wycombs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess. I guess, but yeah, in that case, really, it didn't really matter. I just came into the race, just wanted to finish it. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but yeah. Now it's over for me anyway in that regard. So that's kind of sad in one respect, but also kind of also exciting because I can now focus on other things 100%. So definitely looking back at 4 years of exciting racing, I guess, and yeah, we'll definitely follow the league and the whole F1 scene as it progresses.
Graceful to the last, fair play to you, and well done. And we look forward to. Well, I certainly look forward to your racing endeavours in the iRacing side. We will catch up with you there. We have Mr. Preystader with us. Hello to you, sir.
Hello, everyone.
How are you feeling after that one?
I don't know. Kind of hard to tell, I went into the race with pretty much no practice because of the esports race yesterday. And wasn't expecting a lot, but so I was kind of surprised with P2, but then my tires just died and I just had nothing left, so, But P6 is still a good result to do towards the end of the season.
It did look like you had quite a lot of fighting to do. Is defending particularly difficult at Abu Dhabi just because of where the DRS zones are and where the straights are?
Kind of is, and you know, the car behind can have a huge advantage in the speed with the DRS and slipstream, and yeah, probably my tires that could have gotten puncture like at any point didn't help.
Well, yeah, I imagine that does make things a little bit more difficult for you. But well done on fighting through the decaying tyres, and we look forward to seeing you again next season, I certainly hope. Again, I know it's very short, we get to speak to you all, but because there's quite a few of you, we'll get through you as quickly as we can. Hello, Garrix, we don't often get to speak to you. Good to see you with us.
Hello there.
How are you feeling? We saw you and Danny doing some awesome slipstreaming manoeuvres into the qualifying. Wow, that's certainly not that Danny needed help, but it certainly gave him some amazing times on the board. That was some a great effort. Is that difficult to practice, that manoeuvre?
I think it's not because of the long straight. It can be easily made, so we didn't practice too much because we knew that we can do.
I see. So, as far as the racing was concerned, I don't think we saw a great deal of you in particular, but how did your race go tonight?
Well, it was a tough race. Could have done better. At the beginning of the first stint, we were stuck behind the two Red Bulls, couldn't pass them until lap 6. But then my second stint was fair enough. Couldn't keep up the pace with Daniele, and my tires were done in the end.
Well, you hung on to it very well, so great effort through the season, Garrix, and we look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thank you.
A man that had probably the worst luck of the entire race as far as, and certainly saw the pit stops the most amount of time, is Mr. Jan Feiler.
It wasn't particularly bad luck. It was just me not liking the track particularly, and didn't really practice for it because of the esports thing, the same as Philip. So today it was just about trying to get through the finish, into the finish, and then that's good. So I don't really want to talk too much about the race, and more just, you know, thank everyone in AOR for making the league possible. I mean, it's been a long season. It's been a really good season. I think we had plenty of fighting, great racing. We have a deserved and truly world-class champ this season. And thank you to Hamish and KK for the commentary throughout the season. And yeah, I just hope we see everyone back for season 17 next year. Well, next season, not next year, of course. Next season.
But I'm sure Hamish will agree with me on this one. It has been an absolute pleasure to commentate on some amazing and quite hair-raising racing as well going on. So thank you, Jan, for that. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we move swiftly on to Mr. Donoso. My God, that was a recovery drive on the Hypers towards the end. That was amazing. And you were putting off some awesome overtaking moves in some rather unexpected positions as well. I can imagine you were kind of grinning like beyond your head. That looks incredible fun.
Yeah. Good evening, guys. To be honest, I wasn't expecting nothing from this race. Was focusing more on the 24 hours that I did this weekend, so I had no preparation for this one. But I managed to do a very good lap in quali. I was quite happy about it. Then when Danny exceeded the pitches behind me, I thought I could maintain the lead, but he did the overtake. He managed to do the overtake quite hard, but fair racing as always with Danny. Yeah, and as soon as I saw that I couldn't win the race anymore, I decided to switch to the ultra soft to have a little bit of fun overtaking some people. The pace was amazing. I didn't expect to catch the lead towards the end, I was expecting the crash, not gonna lie, but yeah, sadly, on the last lap, I had a stupid mistake into turn 1, and that cost me the win. But anyways, I enjoyed the last race. Thank you all for the season, and I'm sure I'll be back for next season. And congrats to Daniel, who did a clean race, and Danny to the podium.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Fabrizio. We look forward to seeing you next time out as well. So, Daniele,
hello, good evening.
did you expect to be on the top step this evening?
To be honest, no. But I knew that a lot of drivers in front of me had the penalty, and I knew that at the point of the race there was a kind of fight between Danny and Tino, and so I was just driving, nothing more. I was just focused on doing everything well, and I've done a good race, not amazing, but it is always a good feeling to be in front of these guys, even if today was just for penalties. But I think that I've done a good job, and I'm really happy that I started the season winning and I end the season winning. So yes. I miss the middle part of the season, but I mean, for me it was a great one, a great season, a great start with AOR, and so I want to say thanks to all of you, all the organization, and all the guys that really make me feel like at home, and I'm really happy to be part of this.
Well, I mean, what a way to see off your maiden season. You and David have done a brilliant job. We do look forward to seeing you again. Bravo, bravo, Forza Renault. I can't
Very well.
That. I can't
really great Italian. Really great Italian.
That's as close as I'm ever going to get. Thank you very much, Daniele, for joining us. Now, I purposely left Tino and Danny to last. Be nice, you two. We kind of thought you two would tangle towards the end. I'm going to speak to Tino first. Wow, I mean, we were kind of just watching that gap just get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. I'll put my hands up to this. I called the strategy wrong. I didn't think you were going to make a two-stop strategy work as well as you did. Did you think was that your plan to do a two-stop at the beginning, or were you forced into that?
I didn't do any practice.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
I just went with the strategy what the game gave me. I was like, okay, let's try this. Like, why not? I didn't do any practice, so like, try something. Like, and well, yeah, I just pretty much I drove pretty well in that race, considering I didn't do any practice. So yeah.
A common thing because of the esports team tournament going on, which you already have a win under your belt. So I can understand that one kind of denting the practice somewhat, but I'm sure that wasn't the way you wanted to end the season.
No, I kinda wanted to finish on podium. That was my target when the race started, but yeah, I didn't really like work that way because, well, there is always 30 drivers, and today it was Formula Danny. Okay, that's just a joke, but yeah, I'm just gonna leave stewards to make the decision about that. But yeah, no harsh feelings to Danny. At least, like I said to him, like at least like no titles or championships were decided there, so it was just one race win. But obviously, I feel like it was his fault. But yeah, like yeah,
that one is for the stewards to decide post.
Yes, indeed. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for this season, and yeah, next season then I guess, and hopefully I can do the same kind of results this next season what I'm doing right now. So yeah, see everyone next season.
We definitely look forward to that. And finally, it is indeed Mr. Bearsnye. Hello, Danny.
Hello,
you still
guys,
with us?
good evening. Yes, I hear you. Yeah, I guess you only ask about the accident because that was the most exciting part of my race.
What I was actually going to ask you, Danny, was did you plan on running those super softs that long at the end? Because I just couldn't imagine how they were going to last that long.
No, actually, I planned one stop, and it's not that hard for me to do. And I misjudged the gap between me and Tim in the second stint, because I don't say what kind of times I do, but I usually go quite a lot faster in the second stint. But I only thought that I fight with Price Nader, who was in the second place, and I know that he has a 1 lap older tires, and I actually didn't push as hard as I could, and I just kept the gap on 6 seconds because I had 1 penalty and I went for the safety. And when Team Power took Presnider, I only realized that he is actually there for a chance to win the race, and that last 3 laps I started to push, but I just didn't have that big of an advantage left in the tires. If I push better in the earlier race stages of the second stint, then I could win without any battle, but it didn't happen like that, and I'm actually not happy about that because, you know, a miscalculation is never good on race strategy. I won't be angry now, and not because I don't feel that Tim was the one who made the mistake. It's just not worth my anger, and I learned from the last scenario it won't change anything if I'm mad. But seeing his footage already, his car was way behind, our wheels were not even side by side. I had the ideal racing line and I can turn into the corner. There are a lot of real life footage like that where the driver behind needs to lift, and he both needs to lift when he is around the outside and the inside, as long as we are not side by side fully. And I did that against him in USA, where I lifted when I saw that there is no pace for me, but he just didn't do that, and it was too aggressive, and I'm 100% that it's not me who will get a penalty if one will get. But to be honest, I don't care. It didn't really change anything in the title. I'm second in the championship with a lot of missed races. Of course, I wanted to finish the season on top and a season with the victory, and unfortunately, because one stupid penalty I had, Daniel had that could overtook me. But yeah, second place is still not the worst result on earth. Congratulations for Daniele to keep it very consistent, and I think I won't see you guys in the next one season because I finish school and I won't sign up. I need to study a lot, but maybe next year we will be racing on the same track again.
We look forward to your return and best of luck with your related activities outside of racing. That is going to wrap it up for this race and indeed this season. Thank you very much to those that have been with us throughout the stream. A great pleasure to have you with us. Thank you to those that have been with us throughout the season and of course continue to support AOR and its relevant drivers. It is always a great pleasure. Thank you very much, Hamish, for being with me throughout the season. It's always a great pleasure and it's been a great race to see the season out on. Thank you very much to our sponsors. It's without you guys, AOR would not continue to grow, but there's still plenty of racing going on. The F1 2018 will come back for another season, but it will take a couple of months before it does so. But keep an eye on the forums for when that gets announced and when the sign-ups get made available for that. But plenty of other things to be, plenty of other racing to be keeping an eye on between then and now. So until then, thank you very much and good night.